Good morning, everyone. I would just like to, before we begin, apologize for our late start this morning. We just had some technical issues to deal with here. So I would like to call this meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Inuit, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Carrie Linklater, and I am your chairperson this morning. And I am joined to my left by Mr. Robert Krause and by Zoom, Ms. Valerie Warehan. Our city assessor this morning is Mr. Drew Thiessen, and our administrative personnel is Mr. Tristan Breeden. To the Zoom participants of the hearing, please, you were placed in the waiting room until your property is called upon. When it is your turn, you will be admitted into the meeting. Kindly follow along on the City of Winnipeg's Board of Revision YouTube channel for the hearing process. Once the host admits you into the hearing, please close or mute your YouTube player. You will then be permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once your hearing has concluded, you can leave the meeting. You will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the board. The board is appointed annually by City Council and is independent of it and the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included in the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. And as information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. This morning, we will be hearing items 2, 4, 7, 8, 9, 11, 16, and 17 on the docket. Mr. Breeden, if you would please affirm the assessor and the applicant's testimony.
Mr. Bohan is going to refer. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Of course, Chair. Mr. Assessor, please state your full name.
Drew Thiessen.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at the hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
You're talking to Mark Aarons Townsend? Sorry.
Yes, Mr. Johnson.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's Mark Aarons Townsend.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Stevenson and Mr. Townsend. Mr. Townsend, you were here representing 408 Power Boulevard?
That's correct.
All right, thank you. Mr. Thiessen, if you'd like to proceed with your brief, please.
Absolutely. Thank you. So the subject property is located at 408 Bower Boulevard, roll number 10004027000. It's located in the Tuxedo neighborhood. It's a one-story build, single-family dwelling built in 1964. Living area of 2437 square feet. It has a full part area basement, meaning it has some sort of probably addition that has a crawl space underneath it. It does have a finished basement, has 2 full bathrooms, 1 half bathroom, 1 shower, has central air conditioning, 4 fireplaces, an attached multi-car garage, an in-ground pool, and the lot size is 11,040 square feet. The comparables are all located in the Tuxedo neighborhood as well. They are all one-story builds, single-family dwellings, built between 1959 to 1963. Living areas between 1872 square feet to 2575 square feet. They all also have full part area basements, except for Comp 1, which just has a full basement. So that means it does cover the entire perimeter of the house. They all also do have the finished basements. And there is a little bit of variability in the bathroom counts. Basically, Comp 2 and Comp 4 have a different shower count, essentially, than the subject. They all have central air conditioning, and they all have fireplaces. However, Comps 1, 2, and 3 only have 1 fireplace, and Comp 4 has 2 fireplaces. They all do have attached multi-car garages. And Comp 3 is the only comparable that has a in-ground pool. The assessed lot sizes for the comparables are between 9,743 square feet to 18,845 square feet. There are a couple land influences on the comparables. Comp 2 has external corner influence, and Comp 4 has the external corner, golf course, and medium traffic influence. The medium traffic is to reflect Shaftesbury, which runs right beside it, and the golf course is the Tuxedo golf course that is right across the street. I have a little more information here. So for the subject property, there were renovations done prior to the 2008 purchase by the current owner. They were freshly done at that time. What was included in the MLS listing that I reviewed was they specifically stated that no expense was spared on the high quality upgrades. Stated hardwood floors, custom designed fireplace, granite counters, heated slate floor in the kitchen, and mahogany cabinets in the kitchen. And an inspection was done by our department in 2018 as well. And the home basically shows in the same condition as it did in 2008. I assume that this is still the case today, but I have not done a recent inspection to verify that is the actual case. I'm just making an assumption that it would be, given that it was only 6 years ago that we did actually see the property. Related to the comparables, comparable 2 and 4 are more dated than the subject home, and then comparables 1 and 3 are fairly similar to the subject in terms of the upgrades and overall condition of the build. So based on this information, I believe that the value is actually supported at a higher value than what we currently have, but I'm requesting the value be confirmed at 871,000 or 357.41 per square foot. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Townsend, did you have any questions to the assessor of the information he's just provided?
I guess one area that I just wanted to clarify, we bought the home in November of 2008. So we've been in the home for about 16 years. I believe the renovations from the prior owner were done 3 or 4 years before that, around 2004, 2005, not 2008.
Excuse me, Mr. Townsend, I'm just going to stop you there. That would be part of your testimony. But right now, if you have any questions, what the assessor has stated.
Okay, well, I guess my question was, does the assessor think that the renovations were done in 2008 or were they prior to that?
I can't say for sure what the exact date I think that they would have been. I just know that they looked like they were very freshly done. So, I mean, within 4 or 5 years, I would say that's still pretty freshly done.
Yeah. Well, I think, my point on that is just for clarification, from my records, they're 20 years old now. So that's the renovation date. So that was just one thing I wanted to clarify.
Did you have
But
any-
otherwise, I think the information, that's fine. I can go into my thoughts about the comparables and things too.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Warehan, did you have any questions to the assessor?
I do not, but Madam Chair, I can barely hear you. I'm not sure if it's you or me, but I do not have any questions. Thank you.
Is anybody else having an issue here? Us?
I'm okay.
I'm okay as well.
Are you able to turn the audio up for us? Alan or
I will check it on my end. Thank you.
okay, beautiful, thank you.
Mr. Krebs, did you have questions to the assessor?
Yeah, just one, you said that it was sold in 2008. Do you have a sales price for that or an adjusted sales price for that?
I definitely don't have an adjusted sale price. That was quite some time ago. So to do a time adjustment on that, it increases the odds that you would end up with an error in the time adjustment. That's a very long period of time to adjust for.
Good.
But I think I had the sale price here. I don't have it in front of me, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
It was in the 800,000s. I know that. I just don't remember the exact value.
Thank you. Mr. Gleason, I'm just looking at your comparables. Which one would you say is your best comparable on this property?
So as I kind of said before, comparables 1 and 3 are fairly similar in the overall condition. And then each of them are a little bit different in terms of the actual characteristics. So I'm looking at those really as the best comparables. But as you can see on the comparable sheet, comp 3 is much smaller and comp 4 is a little bit bigger. So with that being the case, you have to make adjustments for the fact that there are those differences. Also, comparable 1 doesn't have the in-ground pool. So there are different differences in characteristics between them that would have to be reflected in looking at the actual value.
Right. What was, or do you know, the percentage increase for this area?
I don't recall off the top of my head because I'm not really looking at what the change in the value would be from assessment to assessment. I'm looking at the actual value at the valuation date of April 1st of 2023.
Okay. And thank you. That's all my questions. Mr. Townsend, if you'd like to proceed.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. Just like to start by saying thank you to the Board of Revision for hearing my tax appeal on 408 Bauer. Our 2025 proposed assessed value for 408 Bauer is $871,000. That's an increase of 9.6% over the $795,000 assessed value of last year. I discussed my assessment with the city assessor on March the 8th, and at that time pointed out that the average percent increase of assessed value for my 9 immediate neighbors on Bauer Boulevard was 7.6%. And I should point out that 4 of my immediate neighbors have done major renovations that should increase their assessed values. And at our home, we've been here for 16 years. We have done no renovations besides just general upkeep and things to address aging of the home. My comparables are 4 homes in the Tuxedo, Middle Tuxedo area. I was just going to go through those a little bit. Just 1 second, let's look at my paper here. So I guess there's a couple of things I want to mention about comparables. First of all, the comparables that I had from the city, the first set of comparables, they were 303 Boreham, 403 Laidlaw, 126 Aldershot, and 518 Bauer. I looked at these comparables. The first one, 303 Boreham, is a tear down and a new build. The second one has full renovations, 403 Laidlaw. Aldershot, 126 Aldershot, was the third one of the city's first set of comparables. And it has renovations to the exterior that are evident. And 518 Bauer, I don't really have any indication to say of that. Excuse me. I submitted 4 comparables from the list of time adjusted sale prices that were compliant with the way the city views the dates. My set of comparables had one overlap, the first one, 303 Boreham, but the other ones were 55 Folkestone, 515 Kelvin, and 403 Laidlaw. These comparables were all in the middle Tuxedo area, I thought were equally as representative to 408 Bauer as any comparable that you could take from the other sets of homes in the area. The second set of comparables that the city provided to me when this meeting was being set up, I'd like to comment on those. The first one is 415 Laidlaw, and it is a lot size of 13,000 square feet compared to 11,000 square feet for 408 Bauer. The frontage is 100 feet versus 85 feet. It's in both respects, lot size and frontage. It's 18% bigger than 408 Bauer. 501 Bauer has 137 feet of frontage compared to 85. That's 61% bigger frontage than 408 Bauer. Its lot size is almost 19,000 square feet, almost 8,000 square feet larger than the 11,000 square feet of Bauer. And that is a 71% larger lot size than our home. And yet its assessed value is $789,000 versus someone's at their door. But anyway.
Townsend,
Yes.
You're giving us assessed values on properties. And as I stated at the beginning, we don't look at assessments of properties, we look at the sales.
Yeah, these are all tied to sales as well. So there are, I've gone back to the sales, the time adjusted sale prices, and there is a correlation, of course, between the two because the assessed values come from those time adjusted sale values.
Okay, I just want to make it clear that we as a board do not look at assessed value.
Okay, but there is, yeah, but I guess the board I would hope would agree that assessed values are based on time adjusted sale prices, right? Would you agree to that?
We look at sales, period.
Well, and I do too, and that's exactly what I went through is what was on I went to the city's records for the time adjusted sale prices, and that's, that's what I've gone through. So I just wanted to carry on with the second set of comparables that the city has sent. When you compare 501 Bauer, as I just mentioned, it's 61% larger in frontage. It is 71% larger in square feet. And the house is still standing, but it's empty. And I checked with the owner and my agent that I bought 408 Bauer 16 years ago, Chris Pennycook. Chris owns 501 Bauer, and I checked with him, and it's a demolish and rebuild scenario. So I don't see that that is a very good comparable to 408 Bauer if it's sitting empty and it's going to be demolished and rebuilt. 120 Mountbatten is the other one in the city's comparable. Again, it has 130 feet of frontage. We have 85. It is almost 17,000 square feet, which is almost 6,000 square feet larger property value, or property size, I should say, than 408 Bauer. And it has a time-adjusted sale price of $1,041,000, which is 28% different than the assessed value, which I think that assessed values and time-adjusted sale prices, to me, it makes more sense when they're in line with each other. And when you take the city's second set of comparables, there's actually an 18% difference between the time-adjusted sale price of those four comparables compared to the assessed value. So that tells me there's an imbalance there, and it really speaks to, I don't think that they're any better comparables than the ones I've put forward. So we can all have different views of the value. And then one other thing that I don't know if it's relevant or not, but Tuxedo, you had asked about the increase in the percentage for increases in this area. Tuxedo River Heights, the median increase is 11%. But I guess I posed the question of what's driving that. And it's actually an easy question to answer if you just go for a walk on my street or any of the streets in my area. I went out for a walk this morning between Corden and Grant Avenue on Bauer Boulevard. In total, if I counted correctly, there's 77 homes on this street. Currently, or within the last 5 years, 25 of those 77 have been complete demolitions and new builds, or gut and complete renovations or extensive renovations. So when an existing home like 515 Bauer down the street from us was bought for $700,000, then gutted and completely renovated, it comes back into the market with an assessed value now of $1.51 million, more than double what the value it was when it was assessed before it was gutted and renovated. So homes in this area like mine that have not had any major value added to the property do not go up in value anywhere close to the rebuild and demolition and renovation projects like 515 Bauer. We've owned our home for almost 16 years, and during that time, nothing except items considered for normal wear and tear and or aging of the property have been done. So we have 1/3 of the homes on our street being demolished and new build or undergoing major renovations. And these are the properties that are driving the majority of the 11% median increase for the Tuxedo area. So going through this, I've proposed 4 properties in the middle Tuxedo area. They're all single-story homes in comparable size to mine. The average square foot is within 2% of my square footage at 2295 square feet. The average assessed value of those is $777,000. And if I take that and do a division of that to get the assessed value per square footage, I get a number that's $342 per square foot. So that being compared to what the proposal from the city, if I just use that 342 number and multiplied it by the 2,437 square feet, this is what I submitted to the city, that would come out at an assessed value of $833,000 as opposed to what is being proposed of $871,000. So I would propose to the city that what would be fair in our situation is a tax increase by 4.8% to an assessed value of $833,000 as opposed to $871,000.
Thank you. Mr. Gleason, did you have any questions for the applicant?
I do. Thank you very much. So the four comparables that you provided here, the 303 Boardroom, 55 Folkestone, 515 Kelvin, 403 Laidlaw, were you aware of the condition of these comparables at the time of their sale?
I have not been inside them, so I haven't had a chance to see, them from the inside. I went around and looked at them from the outside and took pictures. I know that 55 Folkestone is a 10-year newer home than our home, and 515 Kelvin is 18 years newer than our home. So those are the relevant, but in terms of the square footage of the lots, the size of the homes, they're all single-story homes in the Middle Tuxedo area. I thought they were actually quite comparable.
Okay, so then you weren't aware that at the time of the sale, these homes either had structural issues, had no upgrades, or both.
I wasn't aware of any of that, no.
Okay. And for you had mentioned knowing the condition of some of the properties. I think that was the ones that I had provided. Was that?
The second set of comparables, those are the
Yeah.
ones that I most recently. Yeah.
Okay. So you kind of stated that you believe that comparable to isn't really a great comparable, and that it was fairly dated at the time of sale. Is that right? Am I remembering that correctly for which comparable it was?
Are you referring to 501 Bauer?
That would have been 501 Bower, yes.
Okay. Sorry. So could you go back through what you were saying there about the property?
I believe you kind of mentioned that it was dated at the time of sale, not really upgraded at all. And
Yeah, 501 is there's a sign in front of it. It's basically been purchased by Chris Pennycook and his team, and I contacted Chris about that. It's a demolish and rebuild, so it's empty right now, and so it's kind of, I would say it's really one that's probably not applicable as a comparable because it was bought for $1,015,000, but it has an assessed value now with the city of $789,000. So that those two things, and the fact that it's empty and going to be demolished, I don't see that's really comparable to something that's being, like we're in a very different situation at 408 Bauer than 501 Bauer.
okay,
Plus,
so
plus the lot size is way bigger. The frontage is 137 feet versus 85 feet. Like, I just don't think it's comparable.
yeah, so given that it did basically get purchased as a prospective demolition and rebuild, essentially you're stating that the land value of the property is probably about $1 million and 15 what we have as the time adjusted sale price.
I don't know. I don't know how you separate that out because the land value, if it's 61% larger on frontage and 71% larger on the property size, then how much of that goes towards the land and how much of that goes towards the house? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, that's basically what I'm asking, because you're basically saying it was a demo, like purchased as a demo rebuild. So
Right.
essentially, whoever the purchaser was, likely purchased it basically for the land, attributed a little bit of demolition cost into it, and then what they basically paid for was the land.
Yeah, I guess you could look at it that way until it's all sorted out. Like I know that down the street from that property, there was a complete renovation done. They bought it for $700,000. It was an older home. They said it had good bones. They wanted to completely renovate it, and then they took it back on the market and sold it for assessed value now is 1.51 million. So when a renovation or something like that is done, the property is kind of bought and it eventually becomes a home that's worth $1.5, $2, $2.5, $3.5 million. Like some of the ones that have gone up in this area are quite extensive. I know one home Lori Goldberg is building that's over $10 million. So they buy it, and the property value becomes kind of a rounding error to the eventual value of those properties, because they're
So you mentioned that, you know, they get upgraded and then they sell for more, and your property did have upgrades back in roughly 2004, as you were kind of saying, given that it was done about 4 years before you purchased. And that was pretty extensive upgrades at the time, correct? Like it was hardwood floors, custom designed fireplace, granite counters, heated slate floor, mahogany cabinets, all that kind of stuff.
Yep, they did. He did a very nice job on it. He engaged a reputable builder and did that. But I have to say, it's 20 years old, and at 20 years old, things start to look dated. I've got inside and out. I've got things that I think it kind of falls in normal wear and tear. But 20 years has, like I'm just having to do all my shingles on my roof. It's $31,000. So, those things, 20 years is a long time these days and that kind of thing.
Okay. And I just had one other question that was kind of related to the comparable sheet that you provided, which had the 303 Boardroom, 55 Folkestone, 515 Kelvin, and 403 Laidlaw. The values on that sheet, that's only assessed values, right?
On what I submitted, yeah, they were assessed values, and but I checked them from a point of view of how close the assessed values are to the time adjusted, and they're within 98% of each other.
Okay, so but the time adjusted sale prices on those would have been in order of 303 Boardroom, 55 Folkestone, 515 Kelvin, 403 Laidlaw would have been 963,000, 684,500, 669,800, and 793,600. Is that right?
Yeah, the total, when I checked let me just go to my notes on this. When where did I write that? I have it on this thing here.
So basically, I'm saying in some cases, the assessed value that you provided is lower, and in some cases it is higher. But these values that you've provided here are not actually reflective of the actual sale prices.
Well, I would argue that they actually are, because when I've checked it, so I've looked at the assessed value compared to the time adjusted sale price. And for those four properties, it comes out to they're within 2% of each other, the four properties. So, and when I look at that as the second set of city comparables that were submitted to me, those come out at a difference of 15%. So that shows me that the second set of comparables that came from the city, the time adjusted sale price is off by a total of 17% compared to the first set of comparables that the city gave me and my set of comparables.
Right, but that's comparing assessment data, right?
Well, it's comparing time adjusted sale price to assessment value, which they should be close.
Well, that's neither here nor there, because we're looking at the sales data. So like the time adjusted sale prices I have provided on my comparable sheet. The assessment data is what it is based off of comparable sales. But the actual sales data is what we have to look at here. So those are provided on my comparable sheet, right? Yeah.
And I checked, that I checked one thing further, and I've done this before because it does hold some weight. The assessed values and the time adjusted sale prices should correlate closely. And in your first set of comparables, they were close. They were within 2% of each other. On my set of comparables, they are also within 2% of each other. But on the second set of comparables from the city, they're off by 15%. So 15 plus 2 is a 17% difference. And that's why I say the comparables, the second set of comparables that the city has, I say that those are not good comparables. 2 are corner lots. 1 is being demolished. The lot sizes are considerably larger. The frontage is considerably larger. I don't think they're good comparables.
Okay, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wareman, did you have any questions to the applicant?
Yes, I do, sir. The information that you provided, when did those sales take place?
They're all within the period that the city, I got it from the city's actual document. For Tuxedo, it lists all the properties. Then I went through and looked for single-story homes, because you can't really compare single-story to two-story and fourplexes and things of that stuff. And so they're all within that time period that the city considers to be for the April 1, 2023, and then they're adjusted based on the actual date of the sale compared to April 1, 2023.
Okay, because like we can't see what those properties sold for. And that's what we base our decision on. So how do we know that?
I printed it out.
I did provide the time adjusted sale prices. If you want me to, I can read them off again.
Yeah, that's fine. It's just we have nothing to compare. He's provided the assessed value, but there is no sale price. So
Yeah, I just in my questioning, I did provide them. If you want, I can read them off for each one
sorry.
again.
Yeah. Please.
So for 303 Boreham, it was 963,000 time adjusted. For 55 Folkestone, it was 684,500. For 515 Kelvin, it was 669,800. And for 403 Laidlaw, it was 793,600.
Thank you, Mr. Assessor. And I'm just trying to, okay, that's my questions for now. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Gus.
Are the lot sizes that you, for these 4 properties, are they similar to your property, or are they, do we know what the lot sizes are? You're muted, unfortunately. You're muted.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, on the comparables that I have,
Yes.
the lot sizes are similar. They're within 10 to 15%. The ones that the city has proposed, as I was mentioning before, like 71% to 61% larger in 2 of the cases.
Thank you. That's all the questions.
And I have no questions. So thank you, Mr. Townsend, for appearing this morning.
Can I summarize?
If you, yes, go ahead.
Yes. So I just wanted to state that I have provided good comparables for the subject property, especially comp 1 and 3, which have seen similar upgrades to the subject. The comparables provided by the applicant, they were all sold in structural issues or no upgraded condition. So they are not really good representatives of the subject. And I would just like to reiterate that the value is fair or as it currently stands, but I believe that it actually could be higher. Thank you.
Can I summarize as well?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just say that I'm not sure why the city completely changed their set of comparables from the first set to the second set. That was something that I wasn't quite sure what the answer to that was. The second set, though, is the ones that the city is now using. As I pointed out, lot sizes and frontage on 2 of them are considerably different than 408 Bauer where we live. One of them is a demolition that is going to go ahead and a complete new build on that property. And there's a large variation between the time adjusted sale price to the assessed value, which to me is a red flag that something's out of whack. So I look at those 4 comparables as not being accurate or good comparables, no better than than what I've proposed, and therefore I'd say, okay, why would we select the cities versus what I proposed? The ones I proposed are all similar in size. They're in the same area. They're all bungalows. You know, they're homes that maybe have had renovations or things minor in the past, but our renovations are now 20 years old, and we're running into issues where things. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. I'll wrap up. So I'm just proposing that, you know, when I look at my set of comparables and do the multiplication from that, it would increase my taxes by 4.8% as opposed to the city proposing it going up by more than double that number, and arriving at assessed value for the 2025 property tax of $833,000 as opposed to what the city is proposing, which is $871,000. Now, maybe there's room in between for those that we can agree to. I don't want to have to go through the appeal, but you know, I feel strongly that you know, I've got as good a set of comparables, if not better, than what the city has put forward.
Okay. Again, thank you, Mr. Townsend, for hearing this morning.
Okay, thank you.
We will move on to item number 4, 316 Park Boulevard.
So you actually directly, I'm showing you. That's still there. Sure.
Should I proceed?
Just a couple moments, Mr. Assessor.
Yeah, sorry, Mr.
No problem. No problem. No problem.
No problem. Mr. Donald Oliver, are you here?
It looks like he's muted.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm here.
Here?
Yep.
Alrighty, I'm going to place you back in the waiting room until it is your time. Do you have camera function as well, Mr. Oliver?
Yes, I do. What do we got here? Start video. There we go.
Fantastic. Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. I'm going to, like I said, place you in the waiting room and we will readmit you when it is your time.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, not regarding, if there's no other issues, I'll affirm the applicant.
Yes.
Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Chad Beauchamp.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Beauchamp.
Good morning.
Mr. Thiessen, if you would like to proceed with 316 Park.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. The subject property is located at 316 Park Boulevard North, roll number 10003750000. It's in the Tuxedo neighborhood. It is a one-story build, single-family dwelling built in 1958. It has a living area of 2956 square feet, has a full part area basement. So there is some sort of addition that has a crawl space underneath it, likely. There is a finished basement there. It has 3 full bathrooms, 2 half bathrooms, 1 shower, has central air conditioning, has 2 fireplaces, an attached multi-car garage, and the lot size is 12,990 square feet. It also has an internal corner lot influence that is reflecting being beside the back lane. So the comparables are all also located in the Tuxedo neighborhood. They are all one-story build, single-family dwellings built between 1959 and 1963. Living areas between 2066 square feet to 3025 square feet. 2 of them have the full part area basement, and 2 of them have the full basement. That would be comps 1 and 4. They all do have finished basements, though. There is a little bit of variability between the properties in their bathroom counts and fixtures in the bathrooms. They all have central air conditioning. Comparable 1 and 3 both only have one fireplace, whereas 2 and 4 have the same 2 as the subject. There are attached multi-car garages at all the properties, and the lot sizes range between 11,566 square feet to 16,942 square feet. Comparable 2 has an external corner, golf course, and medium traffic influence, that being on Shaftesbury and directly across from the Tuxedo Golf Course. And then comparable 3 also has the external corner influence. The time adjusted sale prices range between 795,800 to 1,146,400. And the time adjusted sale prices per square foot range between 378.98 per square foot to 438.68 per square foot. I believe that comparables 1 and 3 are fairly similar to the subject. Comparable 2 and 4 are less upgrades or less recent upgrades and lower quality of upgrades than the subject. And the current assessed value at 1,062,000 or 359.27 per square foot, I believe, is supported. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Applicant, did you have any questions to the assessor on the information he's just provided?
Yeah, I have a couple questions here. So which of these comparables you noted 1 and 3 were the closest, I believe?
Yep.
Okay, and then you noted that that you had an opinion on the quality of the upgrades that were completed. Is that within 1 and 3?
Yeah, 1 and 3.
So 1 and 3.
Well, I mean, I was stating for all of them. Like I said, they're fairly similar for 1 and 3, and then lesser upgrades, less recent or lower quality for 2 and 4.
Okay, how do you go about understanding the quality of the upgrades?
Just in terms of like the overall what was done. So I looked at the MLS listings, looked at the photos provided in there, saw what the actual upgrades were done or when they were done, what kind of so for comparable 1, I think it is. Where are we here? So I looked at your MLS listing from the 2016 sale, and then I compared that to the other comparables to see when exactly these upgrades were likely done based off of kind of what the materials were that were used, and what the overall condition of them looks like in the photos. And that's how I determined what the quality of them would be. It's all relative to your own.
Right. So time is a factor. And then from a quality perspective, you're doing a visual inspection of the materials via photography.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how do you determine, do you factor in any type of depreciation based on that assessment from a renovation perspective?
Well, I would absolutely consider when any upgrades might have been done, in terms of, but I'm also looking at it in terms of relative to the comparables as well.
Sorry, can you delve into that? So relative to the comparables, I'm just wondering, when you look at a renovation, how do you determine, because you mentioned time and quality, two big factors in sort of the longevity of what a renovation would represent. I'm just kind of wondering, there's a time consideration I think is pretty logical. If a renovation is 50 years old, it's hardly a renovation. If it's 2 years old, it's fairly new. But on a visual assessment of the images provided on MLS and a qualitative analysis, how does that factor into any kind of depreciation or valuation with those renovations that have taken place?
So it's kind of exactly what you've alluded to, where you're saying, a 50-year-old upgrade is not necessarily an upgrade at this point. If it was done in the 1980s, like, sure, it was upgraded since, let's say it was built in 1940. Sure, it's upgraded, but it's not really upgraded to the standards of today. Whereas if you're looking at something that was done in 2000, maybe it could still be a little bit dated, maybe, but it's likely much more appealing to a buyer today than it would be if you were looking at the 1980s.
Right.
Same thing if you're looking at 2018 renovation and then versus a 2000 renovation, likely a little bit more appealing. All of these things I did consider when reviewing the comparables as well.
Okay. Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at, and I don't know if there's a calculation on your side, which it may be subjective, and that's fine, is based on a qualitative assessment using images on MLS. Is it sort of a qualitative assessment and a subjective assessment on your part as to the value that those renovations might add and the depreciation level that those valuations or those renovations might incur over time?
It would be somewhat subjective, yes.
Okay, perfect. Cool. So on the subject property, aware that the basement in the 316 Park Boulevard property is only partly finished.
Yes, so we have 1,012 square feet, which are about 70%.
Okay. Okay. Is that typically listed in the comparable? Is it a factor in the review?
Yeah, I looked at the exact sizes of all of the basement finishes in all the comparables as well.
Okay, cool. That's just for my own information because I had to look up full and part area. Thank goodness for ChatGPT on some of this stuff. Very helpful. And then as far as just the visual assessment on these, is there any other information that you have as far as the quality of the renovations and the materials used, things like that?
I have the MLS listings for them here. So comparable one, it's fairly dated. Looks like it maybe had an upgrade in 90s for the kitchen, maybe. Tough to say for sure, but just looking at the overall condition and quality of what the materials were that were used, I think that's a rough estimate that I could probably get behind. Comparable to probably the same thing. Might have had like a kitchen upgrade in about the 90s. If it is even it's not really even a significant upgrade, I wouldn't really say. It's arguable. Comparable 3 has had a more recent upgrade, probably. I would guess based on what it kind of shows like, probably in the 2000s. There were also some other upgrades. Looks like they were probably done in around the 2000s sometime. The bathroom looks pretty old though. Bathrooms look pretty old. And then comparable 4 maybe might have had about a 90s upgrade to the kitchen. Yeah, it doesn't really show all that great.
Okay. One other one just on the subject property. We do have a second story, but it's minimal. So I'm just wondering how the assessor looks at that impact in terms of comparables.
So we really consider it more into just like the square footage, because it is a very small loft type area. It's not really looking at it as a 2-story build because it's really not. Nor would it be even like a 1-story build because it's really not. It's just a small loft area. Basically, there are a few of these in Tuxedo that I've seen, but they're kind of few and far between. Usually, it's just a small area that is above the grade level.
Right. Okay, and then just back to renovations. I don't want to harp on this one. Would you say you have the ability to tell the quality of the materials used, like the difference between a laminate floor and a hardwood floor, an IKEA kitchen and a custom kitchen, an expensive carpet or an inexpensive carpet from a visual assessment?
Well, some of these things might actually be mentioned in the remarks for the listings as well. And I would look at it through visual. I would also be reviewing what it's kind of said in those blurbs. So yeah, in a way you could kind of tell.
Okay, so when from the subject property, do you have Did you have that input when looking at
Yes.
the
Yeah,
assessment?
so in the MLS listing for your sale, it said top of the line luxury island kitchen features high-end stainless steel appliances, quartz counters, in-floor heating, and amazing cupboard space.
Does it mention the quality of the kitchen build at all, other
Y-
than like the cabinetry, the flooring?
Well, it
Light.
says top of the line.
Okay. All right. Okay. So yeah, using MLS. That's fair. That would be, I believe, it for questions for me.
All right, thank you. Ms. Wareman, any questions for the assessor?
Just one, Mr. Assessor, have you viewed the property?
Only through the MLS listing.
Okay, thank you. The rest of my questions have been answered, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Just one question, Mr. Thiessen, so you yourself have not inspected this property, correct?
Correct.
Do you know when it was last inspected? I'm thinking perhaps when the renovations were done.
Let me see here. I don't really see. Oh, it looks like 2019.
And are there any notes in regards to that inspection?
So the owner stated that it was an IKEA kitchen, an old boiler, and the roof needs to be repaired at that time. So, I mean, that was 5 years ago. Who knows if that is the case today? But that is what it says there.
All right, thank you. That's all my questions. Mr. Beauchamp, if you would like to proceed with your brief.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks for having me. So I have submitted a few comparables here. I think overall, my thoughts on this is there's a pretty wild fluctuation, I would say, between the assessor's comparables and the comparables that I've submitted. I think there's a number of market factors that would contribute to this. I don't believe the assessor's comparables are wrong by any stretch. They all look fairly reasonable to me. From my position, overall, we purchased the home. The home was renovated to some extent. As you can kind of guess from my questions, is the quality of the renovations are low. So I understand that an MLS listing will provide some qualitative language, with full consideration that the qualitative language is placed into the ads for the very, very specific reason of selling a home. So it is a sales tool. It is not a tool that reflects the accuracy of any particular property. So at the end of the day, saying luxury island as an example. So we do have a quartz countertop, which is not a marble countertop, as an example. It is an IKEA kitchen. Overall, the renovations have not really held up. So as far as the question to the assessor is regarding the depreciation of renovations, the renovations here, we have laminate flooring, we have very, very cheap carpet. Some of the wiring that was done and the confusion of the wiring and the wires going every which way throughout the house is definitely a factor. We also did have the home inspected. I wanted someone to come down and actually see the property and see some of the components in the property, the old windows, some of just the old pieces that were not renovated, the entirely old basement. Since then we've had malfunctions in the basement that have led us to tear apart parts of the bar that was there, which is all factors in sort of my position here. When we purchased the home, and you can see through the history of it, is it sold quite low in and around 2013. It was renovated, I would say, more as a flip than it was as a home that was actually going to have somebody move into and sort of enjoy these renovations. It was heavily overinflated due to competitive landscape in around 2015. And I just so happened to know how inflated it was over and above the secondary bid that was put in on the home, which was about $100,000 over, but still at $1 million was the secondary bid. We purchased the home in 2016 ish for $900,000. And it's my position basically that the market has gone up, but the quality of the renovations has played a significant factor in what I think the value of the home is, which I think the depreciation of our renovations would heavily outpace any renovations that were done with quality. So that's kind of where my position is. If my request for actually a reduction in assessed value seems a little bit cheeky, that's kind of where it's coming from. So with that, I've pulled together some comparables. So I have 515 Calvin Boulevard. It is 2,300 square feet with a lot size of just about 9,000 square feet. Its time adjusted sale price is $669,800. An assessed value of $766,000. The price per square foot on that home is $290,008. So significantly lower than my home. The next one is 403 Laidlaw. This would be what I would see as probably the closest comparable at 2,973 square feet with a lot that is just a bit smaller at 11,000 square feet. And it's a time adjusted sale price of $793,700. So roughly $266.97 a square foot.
Mr. Beauchamp?
Yeah.
Did these properties actually sell, or you're just giving us assessed value?
No, these are the time adjusted sale prices.
And when did these properties sell?
I can tell you.
Just looking for it.
They came from the 2023 sale book.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. The last one, which I threw in, it is a 2-story. We had the 1-story, 2-story discussion, and just for those that don't know the property, it's a little quirky in that there is a staircase going to a second story. That second story is sort of a bedroom, a hallway, and a half bath. So it sort of throws a bit of a variable in. I've typically looked at bungalows. That's how the house is listed, as a bungalow, but it does have this wild card. So those are the comparables. When I look at 515 Calvin Boulevard, I have some pictures that I had sent over. It's been basically fully renovated. It is listed on MLS for a significant amount more in dollars, but the renovation that we see here is absolute luxury. Gyms in the basement, wine cellars, completely finished, brand new driveway with poured concrete. Our home has a basically degraded garage floor, cracks in the sidewalks, those types of pieces that are not even close to the standard that is in that home. 403 Laidlaw, as an example. So it's very close in size. I believe that home has a pool, and it appeared to have from the exterior a reasonable renovation that's been completed on the home. And then as far as I know we're not talking about proposed values, but there's a difference in overall proposed value with that home, quite lower. Shaftesbury is a 2-story. I'm not sure what from a comparable, if we would agree that that's actually a comparable given the 2-story, 1-story component with this, but I would say 403 Laidlaw, from my perspective, is a pretty reasonable comparable. And it was built in the same year, just within the same year, but does have a pool, very similar size, and the time adjusted sale price is significantly lower than where our home is sitting right now. So that would be my position on the comparables with consideration to the depreciation, significant depreciation of the renovation of the home. Like I said, I did invite somebody into the home in 2019 to try and get a better understanding of the condition of the home and where things were at. And basically that left with, well, there's not really anything to kind of look at. I think is kind of what the individual said. There was little consideration to a lot of the things we're talking about here when it comes to countertops or condition of carpet that appeared to be presented by the city as validation to increase price. It was sort of said to me that has no bearing and no factor. Even though I'm looking at the sort of the guidelines for these proceedings, they kind of mimic it. We do seem to talk a lot about that. So that's why I'm bringing up the degradation of the renovations. My opinion would be that this home could sell as lot value and a tear down, which would be a travesty because it's a very cool mid-century modern, despite some of the deficiencies on renovations. It could also sell as a complete renovation. So that would be the factor, and overall the renovations have degraded since we purchased it, and I think it's reflective in the various sales prices that it's had a decreasing sale value over the years with the last two times that last time that it was sold. So that would be my position. So I was looking to have it adjusted in line closest to 403 Laidlaw. Which has a 266.97 for the time adjusted sale price based on square footage. So my ask was $991 and $335.25 a square foot, which is considerably more than that comparable. With consideration to the lot size and potentially some of the renos that have been completed here. I'm not saying there isn't value in them. I haven't been in this home at 403 Laidlaw, but my assumption is that there hasn't been renos to the level that we've had those renovations. So that would be my position.
I thank you. Mr. Any questions?
I do. Thank you very much. So a lot of the evidence you provided in your brief, it looked like there was in the appendix, that's where you had the sale prices, and then a lot of the rest of it was comparing the assessment data. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And then for the actual sales you provided for 515 Kelvin, were you aware that the home at the time of sale appeared to be basically completely original to 1982?
515 Kelvin. No, I've not been in the home. No.
Okay. And then for 403 Laidlaw, which was a private sale, were you aware that it's sold with foundation issues and also was likely dated, given that alteration permits were pulled after the purchase for foundation repair and a renovation?
I would not have. Nope.
Okay. And then for 419 Shaftesbury, which was also a private sale, it sold essentially original condition to 1964 and then underwent renovations after the sale again by the current owners, which I got that information from a sales questionnaire provided by the owners, as well as looking at several permits that were pulled since the purchase for electrical, plumbing, and alteration. So you were not aware of that either?
Nope.
Okay. And then with 403 Kelvin, the January 2021 sale, were you aware that that sold to a developer and was resold in the same year, suggesting that the price was basically for the land?
No, I don't believe I had that one in my, did I have that one in? Yeah, I didn't provide that for a comparable. Oh,
I don't know how I got that one. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
My mistake. Just with disregard the question.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I don't know how I got that in there.
No, that's okay. I actually had it on a preliminary list. That's why I was like, what's happening here with this one? So on both of those, just to comment on both of those pieces. So I was not aware, but that's where I've gotten to my my proposition, I guess, is to accommodate for things that, you know, I wouldn't know in the home, wouldn't have understood in the home. So these homes obviously have sold or have a time assessed sale value of considerably lower than what the proposed assessed value of my home is. So my assumption was that they would have some level of discrepancy to the negative based on my home, which is how I got to the number that I got to, is considering those factors or the assumption of those factors just from having walked past them and things like that.
Okay, but I mean, in your evidence, you did provide that 515 Kelvin was upgraded as well, right?
Yeah, you betcha.
Okay. So you weren't considering the fact that it was upgraded when you were coming to this value conclusion?
No, I assumed with a lower sale price than what we actually purchased the home at, that there was some level of deficiency in the quality of the interior of the home. That's why I factored in a significant price over and above all of the comparables that I put forward. So I believe I factored it in already, just on an assumption. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I have no further questions.
Thanks.
Yes,
I have no questions at this time, thank you.
thank you. And Ms. Wareham, any questions?
None, thank you, Madam Chair.
I also have no questions, and thank you very much for appearing this morning, Mr. Beauchamp.
I have provided rebuttal evidence as well.
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Just bear with us for a moment. We
Absolutely, no problem.
are having this sent to us. Yeah. Sorry.
And Mr. Beauchamp, there should be an email with the rebuttal evidence in your inbox.
Yep, I have it.
There should be.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah, of course. It should say 2443.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go. We have Ms. Wareham, you have the information.
I do, Madam Chair, thank you.
Right. And Mr. Beauchamp, you have it?
I do.
Okay. Would you like to proceed, Mr. Mason?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. So in my rebuttal evidence on page 1, I've included the MLS listing and photos for 515 Kelvin, which shows that the extensive renovations mentioned in the applicant's brief were done after the sale of the property by the new owners. The changes made to the property are not applicable to the condition at the time of sale, which is what we're looking at to determine what the market value was at the reference date. Then on page 6 of my rebuttal evidence, I have also included permit information for 403 Laidlaw that shows that extensive work was done to the property, including 28 braces to the foundation, roof alteration, and interior alterations after the sale of the property again, with the permit being submitted on April 3rd of 2023. Again, this shows that the work was done after purchase, not at the actual sale date. And then finally, I have included the 2016 MLS listing of the subject to further exemplify that the applicant's comparables are not good representatives of the actual subject property, showing that the upgrades to the property as well as the overall higher quality build of the property is something that must be considered.
All right, thank you. Mr. Beauchamp, did you have any questions to the assessor?
No questions, no. But am I able to just respond?
Go ahead.
Okay, great. So I don't know if we're closing up, but I guess my overall position on the assessment would be that just to note that the images in this listing are roughly 8 years old, if not 9 years old, in and around that age range. Like I said, I've also factored in some assumption that our home is in better condition as a result of the renovations than the subject properties, the comparables that I've provided. I still would say 403, I believe, 403 Laidlaw is by far the best comparable. I understand that in sort of this rebuttal evidence at 515 Calvin, the renovations were completed after with this. So what I kind of come back to with this is that the images that are noted in here and a visual representation of these images, although may look fantastic, the quality of the materials, the quality of the renovations, the brand of the different materials, things like that are significantly lower. I don't think a visual inspection via photos is a good way to kind of figure out whether or not these components have the quality that's related to other homes. And I can tell from my own experience in the home that there's been serious degrading of these renovations to the point where I believe that it has a major hindrance on the overall value of the home, not to mention other factors such as incredibly old windows throughout the home. Lots of renovations and things were not completed. Based on the information and the approach, I believe, of the board is there's less consideration to carpet wear and tear, those types of things within the valuation. So more of the larger components such as older windows, older roof, things like that, fireplaces that require structural repair in order to be insurable. Those types of things play a bigger role in the valuation. So overall, I think 403 Laidlaw is the best comparable within the set of comparables. I've come to a position that is a reasonable amount more than that home. As far as square footage value, and for other comparables, I've taken into consideration that they may be of a lesser quality on the interior. Also provided my proposed valuation that is much higher than those, including 515 Calvin. So with that, that's what I have.
Right, thank you. Ms. Warehan, did you have any questions to the assessor?
I do not, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chris.
No questions, thank you.
I also have no questions. Thank you for your appearance this morning, Mr. Beauchamp.
Thank you for having me.
And the board is going to take a 7-minute recess at this time. I would like to bring this hearing back to order. And item number 7 is going to be moved to the end of the docket. So we'll proceed to item number 8, which is 231 Hansard Boulevard.
Mystery on that.
Where, do you want me to come to the table?
Yes, please. And just remain standing so I can affirm it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Robert Young.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Young.
Good morning.
Okay, Mr. Mason, if you would like to start us off with 231 Hansard Boulevard.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. So the subject property is located at 231 Hansard Boulevard, roll number 10002977000. Currently, there is a livable dwelling on it, but it is a 1952 build, and properties in prime location in Old Tuxedo are being purchased for the land, with some buildings even being in a livable state at the time of purchase. All of the comparables that I have provided here had buildings at the time of sale that were demolished within, or had the permits pulled for demolition within 11 months of the sale. So these are reflective of vacant land sales, which is what I'm looking at for the value of the property. The zoning on all of these is R1L. It's a large residential large lot. Lot size for the subject is 10,526 square feet. The comparables are all located in that Old Tuxedo neighborhood, with a lot range between 9,746 square feet to 12,995 square feet. Comparable 3 does have a land influence of a bus route, commercial influence, and heavy traffic, being that it is located on Tuxedo Avenue, or backs onto Tuxedo Avenue. So it has a lot of the issues with having the traffic and the bus route there. And then comparable 4 has the internal corner influence, being that it is right beside the entrance for the back lane beside it. Of note in these comparables, comparable 3 exemplifies exactly what kind of a negative influence that proximity to these traffic influences and that kind of issue would have on a property in Old Tuxedo relative to an interior lot that does not have these kinds of issues. That is my presentation. So with the current assessed value being at 945,000. Oh, sorry, I didn't read the time adjusted sale prices. So the time adjusted sale prices of these lots range between 621,000 to 1,109,900. And the time adjusted sale prices per lot size range between per square foot of lot size range between 60.35 per square foot to 113.88 per square foot. So I believe that the current assessed value at 945,000 or 89.78 per square foot is supported. Thank you.
Thank you. Young, did you have any questions to the assessor of what he's just presented?
Just one. You mentioned the land influences, and I believe it was 223 Grenfell was proximity to the bus route. Is that right? And which bus route are you referring to? Is that the one on Corridon? That would be the influence
On Tuxedo.
on Tuxedo and Corridon, I guess.
No, it's specifically on Tuxedo, because it backs onto Tuxedo Avenue. So it has the commercial influence for the commercial retail area that has Rumors Comedy Club and all that kind of stuff in there. And then it has the bus route for the buses that ride on Tuxedo Avenue, as well as the heavy traffic for the Tuxedo Avenue traffic as well.
Okay. I'm just my knowledge of the bus route along that it's only going on the, I guess it would be the east side of Tuxedo, not on the side where the house is located.
Okay.
That's it.
Ms. Wareham, did you have any questions?
I do not, Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Chris.
Just going back to comparable three, you bring that up, I guess, because the square foot value, the time adjusted sale price lot, the square foot value is lower than the other comparables, is that?
Yeah, it really exemplifies the stark contrast between prime location versus good location in Old Tuxedo.
Okay. And are there, on the subject property, are there any negative influences involved at all?
There are not. As you can see in the land influences, there are no land influences.
Okay, thank you.
Just to clarify, Mr. Thiessen, there is a property at this address, and what was the year again?
It is a 1952 build.
Just curious, when like you decided just to look at the land value of this?
Yes, because in Old Tuxedo, what is typical of these old builds is people are buying them, demolishing, and building custom dream homes. It's not at all out of the norm for this to happen. This is basically what is happening on a very regular basis in this interior of the neighborhood. In other portions of the neighborhood or on the traffic routes, not maybe as much. People might be doing a renovation and living in those houses. It might be a little bit of a separate market for those houses versus these ones that are on the interior that people are buying to demolish immediately or within a very reasonable amount of time and rebuild.
All right, thank you. That's all my questions. Mr. Young, if you'd like to proceed.
I would, thank you. As I've stated, my name is Robert Young. I'm at 231 Hansard. And I've lived there for about 15 or 16 years. So when I was provided with the database from the city, I looked for homes in the neighborhood that were similar to ours in the sales list, and so I chose three homes that were on the list, and tried to find houses that were built at about the same time that were also bungalows, and I provided the sale prices for those houses in my brief. I also provided the sale price for the house that was recently sold next door to me. So it's a house built at exactly the same time, with very similar to lot size, and it sold for $627,000. So which is considerably less than my assessed value of $945,000. And since it's a house that's right next door to me, I can't see how my land value would be over $300,000 more than what than the house that sold right next door to me. So when I look at the average sale price for the houses in my comparables, they're around $624,000. Again, considerably less than the current assessed value. 2 days ago, I received the comparables from the city, and they had at the time, I thought those were homes that were currently in existence, but I went for a walk around the neighborhood and it turned out that they were no longer there. But they have a average value of $837,000, but a high range in value, $239,000 between the top and the bottom. And it also, I was surprised to learn that 2 of the 4 homes that are listed were not on the 2023 sales list that was provided to me by the city. So I thought that was an unusual occurrence. And again, I think the wide range in selling price uh, suggests that there's some sort of stratification that might lead to a better assessed value. I know that the assessed values of my neighbor's properties are much lower than mine. That are also single story bungalow houses in the area. So I would, if we're talking about land values, they should be there should be a less variation in the assessed value of all of the houses that on my street that have similar fates awaiting for them, which is the wrecking ball. So given this data, I would like the board to consider my request for a reassessment. It seems abnormally high compared to recent sales and the assessed values of my neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gleason, any questions?
I do. Thank you very much. So regarding your comparables, 233 Hansard, you did say sold very recently, right? And that was in 2024, correct?
It actually sold twice in 2024 for about the same price.
Okay, so it would be post-reference to the April 1st, 2023 valuation date that we're looking at.
Right, but I also note that the two of the comparables that you provided were not in the 2023 database.
But they do have sale dates in 2020 to 2022, all of my sales.
So I guess my question is why would I'm assuming those are sales that occurred before the database was compared the range and dates for the database, and given that you know the value of the sale of 233, I think it is, or 230, yeah, 233, you can time adjust it back to 2023 just as easily as you can time adjust the 2021 sale.
So we can't look at post-reference sales, but regardless, I'll move on here. With another one of your comparables, 236 Hansard, that is located directly at the corner of Hansard and Corridon, correct?
No. 236?
236 Hansard, which you supplied as a comparable.
My neighbors.
Excuse me, sir. Sir. If you could refrain from speaking, thank you.
Excuse me. I couldn't tell you exactly where to find it on the map. But
Okay.
I believe it's very close.
Okay. And at the time of the sale of that property, it had fairly extensive renovations done. Were you aware of that?
Yes, that house had I believe had there was some sort of an accident that occurred where a car ran into the house. It sounds bizarre to say, but I believe that or a car or a truck, I'm not quite sure. And so they had to, do extensive renovations over a significant period.
Okay. And at this point, that house has not been demolished, correct?
No, it's still there as far as I know.
Okay. And then moving on to the Wellington Crescent properties, those are both located at the easternmost tip of Old Tuxedo, within approximately 200 to 250 feet of the St. James Bridge and the off-ramp leading into Kenniston, correct?
That's true, but the houses very near them are also been demolished and are being redeveloped at this time. So I imagine the same fate will be awaiting for those houses as well.
Okay, but at this point, neither of those properties has been demolished.
None of them.
But they are both sold in 2021, 2022.
I believe I can look at the numbers, but I don't imagine that's incorrect.
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Warehan, any questions?
Just one, I'd like to know what the applicant is, through all his information, does he think is a fair assessment of his property?
Um. I'm no expert in property assessment. That's not my area of expertise, so, you know, I can only give it an impression of what it is. I know that the exact same house right next door to me sold for $627 just this year. So to suggest that my house is worth $320,000 more than that seems completely out of line, especially considering, and I know we're not supposed to talk about assessed values, but my neighbor's assessed values for similar one-story bungalows are substantially less than my assessed value of $945. So it just seems completely out of line with what the market is for this house.
I'd just like to request that sale price that mentioned be stricken as it is a post-reference sale.
Yeah, we're aware. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Chair, that'll be my only question for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
There, if I may.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's a relatively simple formula for creating the time adjusted sale. So in order to bring it to a common date, there's no reason that the board cannot do that in reverse. So take a 2024 and time adjust it to 2023. There's nothing in the formula that would prevent that from happening.
Okay, so sir, we are looking at sales for 2023, what your house would be valued in 2023, and we look at sales.
Right?
And we do not, the board does not adjust anything backwards.
The assessor can do that if that's the case. But there's, you know, the math is so simple that regardless of that, you can use it as a supplementary evidence. There's no way that you can, in any logical way that you would think that a variance of $320,000 is reasonable, given the current information that's in front of the board. It's just not reasonable.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Thiessen, did you have anything to add to that?
I have nothing further to add.
Thank you. Mr. Krause, did you have any questions?
Yeah, 236 Hansard, which is your first comparable.
Yeah.
When was that sold? Do you have like, was that post-reference date or is that?
No, it's
That was in 2023.
it's on the list here.
I don't have a sell date. Is that, was it also on?
Sale date was 2021.
And with that property, you would say that property is comparable to yours? Size wise?
Yeah.
And lot size wise?
Yeah, it's a smaller house,
Okay.
but we're not really talking about the house.
It's your house is a 1.5 story?
No, it's not. It's a one story.
It's a 1 story, and on 236 Hansard is a similar 1 story as well.
One story. They're all, there's a sort of a standard design that was used in 1953 or 1952 or whatever it was.
Right.
Just, yeah, cookie cutters basically. Yeah.
Those are my questions. Thank you.
I just have one question, Mr. Young.
Yeah.
So what value are you looking?
What do I have to provide a value? Is that part of the deal here? I'm new to this, so.
No, that's fine.
Okay, and what I did was I said, I took my 4 comparables, I took the average of those 4. And it was 624.
Okay.
And that happened to be almost exactly the same price as my neighbor that just sold his place twice in 2024 for almost exactly the same amount. So whether that's fair or not, as I say, I'm not an expert, I'm not a professional appraiser of properties, so take it for what it's worth. All I know is 945 is ridiculous.
Mr. Thiessen, do you have a wish for a summation on this property?
I actually do have rebuttal evidence here.
Okay.
There's rebuttal evidence, and was that provided to me?
It will be provided to you right now.
Wonderful.
If it's a problem.
You can just send it to me.
Okay.
It's gonna, oh,
Um,
can you actually, you know what, can you print it?
I will print it.
That'll be much easier.
I,
Which one is it?
uh,
I'll let you. Oh, you got you. Yeah, I do get.
yeah, okay. Perfect, thank you. Sure. Thank you.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, yeah, perfect, it should be in there.
Yeah, okay, this sheet.
Thank you.
Excuse me, sir,
It's okay, he's my neighbor.
I know, but this, you have to sit down, sir, this gentleman.
I sit beside him.
No, you know what, sir?
As his agent. You're denying him any representation or assistance. Is that your position?
My position is you're not sworn in and this is not your property.
I'm not talking to you. I'm
Sir,
not giving any evidence. I'll give evidence when it's my turn. I'm not giving evidence. I'm just, he and I are exchanging ideas. You're denying that? In this country?
Sir, this isn't your property.
I know it isn't. He's my neighbor. We assist one another in my neighborhood. And you're denying that? That's unheard of.
Could you swear him in, please?
Right, sure, yep. Mr. Applicant, please state your full name. If you wish to.
I'm not being sworn. I'm not going to say anything to you. I will. If you ask me questions, I'd be happy to, and I'll certainly be testifying on behalf of my own property. But I'm giving him, exchanging confidential information with him as his agent. There's nothing to do with you. It's none of your business.
You know what, we're gonna take a recess this time.
Oh, one second, I saw the thing in the assessor.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you should. Yeah. So.
Hello.
And we are back, and I would like to call this meeting back to order. Mr. Bateson, I think you were about to present your rebuttal information.
Yes. So what I've submitted as rebuttal is a comparable sheet, including all of the applicants provided comparables, as well as a map showing their locations. To exemplify the negative impact of the locations relative to the subject's location. In particular, the Wellington Crescent properties, which are essentially a stone's throw away from Kenaston and the St. James Bridge underpass. These two comparables are essentially not even in the same neighborhood of Old Tuxedo versus the subject. While 236 Hansard is also located at the corner of Hansard and Corridon, and is, as everyone probably knows, Corridon being one of the major east-west thoroughfares in the city. So it's my assumption that a discerning buyer looking to purchase an Old Tuxedo likely would have a major hesitation on paying anywhere near the same value for a property affected by these traffic influences and the other issues related to these properties as they would for a quiet interior lot. And this is also a point that I kind of exemplified as well with my inclusion of 223 Grenfell Boulevard in my own comparables. Furthermore, none of these properties have been demolished in the 2 to 3 years since their purchase. So it goes against what is commonly the case in homes of this age on the interior of the neighborhood in Old Tuxedo, which kind of suggests a separate market participant. And that's my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have questions concerning the rebuttal?
No, the only question I have goes back to your discussion of 223 Grenfell. I don't have the information on the house that was built there, but it is a giant house. Which I think you described them as dream homes. This would be
custom built dream home, typically like after demolition, people do build their custom.
So, to say that you can discount the land value or that property or that proximity to either Tuxedo or Corridon is an issue. I don't, I think the evidence is that that's not the case. And the only other thing that I would suggest is the renovations that were completed at 236 were done in accordance with an insurance settlement rather than someone investing anew in the property. So I don't think that if it came back on the market again that that someone would choose to not redevelop that property. And I'd also like to just, given the, sort of the rebuttal evidence, the assessor has provided the information for 233 Hansard, which is almost identical to my property. And as I've said, either the assessed value or the current sale price for that property is substantially less, $320,000 less than my current proposed assessment for 2025.
Wareham, did you have any questions regarding the rebuttal information?
I do not, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Thiessen, I just have one question for clarification. 236 Hansard.
36 Hansard, yeah.
Yeah, so just at the end of your comments about your rebuttal. Did you say something about there's a because 236 is still there, correct?
Yeah, all of these properties are,
Yeah.
they still have buildings on them.
Right, so were you saying that then that I think you made some sort of statement about a secondary market?
Yeah, I'm kind of suggesting that there likely is a secondary market for these high traffic areas because none of these properties have been demolished since their purchase 2 to 3 years ago. Yeah, 2 to 3 years ago. Whereas most of the interior properties, they get demolished within 1 to 2 years. And I've provided for comparables that have been demolished since their purchase.
So,
Can I comment?
sorry, no, I'm
Oh, sorry.
finishing, Mr. Mann, thank you. So given the proximity to 231, 3 houses. So 231 would not be regarded in the same as 236 then?
I definitely don't think it would be as heavily affected, especially because this property 236 does it is directly adjacent to Corridon. So that is major traffic directly beside them.
Right, thank you. Yes,
If I may.
Yeah.
So the evidence against the secondary market is 223 Granite, which is identified by the assessor as a high traffic area because of the bus route. And yet that home was demolished and a dream custom built house was built on that property. So I'm not sure that that is relevant.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Beeson, do you have any wish for a summation on this property?
Just to state that I have provided these sales of the interior sales that I believe are a better indicator of the value because they have been demolished since the purchase. It is indicating a trend in the neighborhood that people do demolish and pay more for the interior builds than exterior. And that is why I believe that the value is supported. Thank you.
Do you have a wish for a summation, Mr. Yu?
If I may, I agree with the assessor that the fate of all of the homes adjacent to me that are built in the early 1950s that are bungalows, they're all awaiting a similar fate. No one is living under the illusion that their house is going to be lived in by someone else. It's going to be demolished and rebuilt. I would submit that the recent evidence is that the market is substantially below the current assessed value of my property at $945. In fact, it's probably substantially less than that. And I'll submit the average of the 4 comparables that I provided and the current assessed values of other bungalows, even more interior than my house. Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Thank you for coming.
Am I excused or?
You want it? Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we will now move on to item number 9, 221 Hansard Boulevard.
You remain standing so I can swear you in for your property. Okay, Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Derek Alexander Booth,
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, so help me God.
Thank you. You may be seated.
First of all, could you identify who is participating in this hearing? I believe remotely, this is Mr. Drew Thiessen that I've dealt with before.
The city assessor, yes.
Pardon?
The city assessor.
Yeah, okay. And who is the lady that comes on the screen? What's her involvement?
She's a panel member.
Pardon?
She is a panel member.
So there's supposed to be 4 panel members.
3.
1, 2, 3.
No, this gentleman is the secretary and this gentleman is also the secretary.
Oh, 2 secretaries. Okay, all right. And who is that? I didn't understand that. Who's that third?
Valerie Warehunt.
Valerie Warehunt. Okay. All right, I didn't understand that. Third of 3 panel. Okay. Find these some of these modern conveniences are not so convenient unless you're maybe practicing them every day and are considerably younger than I am.
Sorry, we're going to start with the assessor. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Thiessen, whenever you are ready.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. The subject property is located at 221 Hansard Boulevard, roll number 10002982000. It's located in the Old Tuxedo neighborhood. As with this previous property, I am looking at the value as a land value on the property. It does have a livable dwelling on it, but it is a 1952 build. Properties in prime location in Old Tuxedo are being purchased for the land, with some buildings even being in a livable state at the time of the purchase. All of the comparables that I've provided here did have buildings at the time of sale that had demolition permits pulled within 11 months of the sale. Particularly of note, comparable 3 exemplifies that proximity to negative traffic influences and commercial influences can be quite stark, as property is then in a less prime location than an interior lot and may be appealing to a somewhat different market. The comparables are all located in the Old Tuxedo neighborhood as well. They, as I said, did sell with buildings on them that were demolished within 11 months of the sale. The lot sizes for these properties range between 9,746 square feet to 12,995 square feet. Comp 3 and 4 have land influences. Comparable 3 has a bus route commercial influence and heavy traffic influence. And comparable 4 has the internal corner for the back lane beside it. The time adjusted sale prices range between $621,000 to $1,109,900. Time adjusted sale price per square foot of lot size then is $60.35 per square foot to $113.88 per square foot. The current assessed value is $749,000 or $57.64 per square foot, and I believe that this value is supported. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Booth, did you have any questions to the assessor of what he's just presented?
Yes, I do. Mr. Thiessen, you inspected my property, or one of your co-assessors did, in, I believe, September of 2022.
I personally did, yes.
Did you see any signs of anything that would require demolition or even repair?
Well, given that the property is a 1952 build and basically...
did you see anything? Not, you didn't know the age when you inspected it. Did you see anything?
It is basically an original build to what it was at the time. So 1952 build, which, as I had previously mentioned, typically in this neighborhood, a 1952
Not
build.
typically, I'm asking about this property, not your averages and your generalities. I'm asking you what you saw when you inspected it, that's all.
Original to 1952 build.
Well, did you know, for instance, that it was built by a contractor for his sister and her husband? And that it is completely on piles, and that includes even the window wells in the basement. The individual window wells are on piles, and that there is a crawl space or sub-basement under the main basement. Did you know any of that? Did you see that?
I don't see how this is
Typical?
pertinent to. I don't see how this is pertinent to the fact that I'm
Well,
valuing
is
it at
is
land
that
value.
You said it. Is it typical to a 1953 build?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Thank you. Now, in the past, you and I have I've dealt with other assessors, going right back to Cy Collins, who was the head of the assessment department for the Metropolitan Corporation, and then the city of Winnipeg. And I'm familiar with your procedures. And you in the past would provide information that included not only a photo, but a brief description or a somewhat detailed description of the property. And again, this is one of the problems of the remotes. I'm showing you typical information you would provide in the past. Does this look familiar to you?
Is that an MLS listing?
Pardon?
Is that an MLS listing?
I believe so. Or one provided by the assessment department, and it includes not only a photo, but full details, remarks, all the specifications, and so on. Do you agree that that was the practice in the past? That sort of information was provided?
It's a case-by-case basis.
Pardon?
It is a case-by-case basis. What is provided at the hearings is a case-by-case basis.
I see. So you don't deny it.
It's entirely possible.
Then I requested what I thought would be similar information. I provided my comparables back in the spring or earlier. And I got a letter, as did my predecessor, Mr. Young, sending us your comparables on Wednesday this week, 2 days ago. Is that correct?
That should be correct.
And so when we received that, it was this one-page letter, and you had a map, and the one-page letter listed your comparables. But apart from the size of the lot, zoning, and some other things, the only real information it had was sale information with the sale price and the date. I'm showing you the document I received. Do you agree?
Yeah, that's correct. That's my
And I'd like that, if it's not already an exhibit, entered as an exhibit. The comparables provided by the assessor on on October the 8th or 9th, October the 9th. So this procedure is initiated by the uh, taxpayer, the homeowner, filing the application. And you then provide him with a notice that includes a guideline. Is that correct? I received such a notice. Yeah. Got one. Reassessment preview program. But I got one. Oh, the 205 general assessment, important dates and information. I'm showing you that. Is that familiar to you?
Yeah, that was related to the preview program, I believe.
That was what?
Related to the preview program in January.
Yeah. Yeah. And the preview program is supposed to be something where you discuss the assessment as a preview to going to the Board of Revision to try and cut down on those appearances. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay. Now, those guidelines are the only place that I have been able to find guidance with respect to these hearings. And I got a letter August 27th, 2024 from a V. Hutter. Oh, I believe that was the lady I just spoke to at the intervention. Okay. And she attaches a 4-page guideline. Are you familiar with that?
Not entirely. I don't get those notices. I've seen it before, but I'm not entirely sure versed in what's exactly in it.
Well, do you agree that these are the policies and procedures that should be followed at these Board of Revision hearings?
Yes, those are mailed to the applicants.
Well, I would like the letter and the guidelines registered as an exhibit, if it's not already in existence. The letter is mostly procedural, but the guidelines is what I'm interested in. So if we could have that, those existed, those admitted as an evidence as an exhibit.
Is that pertaining to your notice of hearing that you're referring to? Yeah, that'll be an exhibit on the file. Yeah.
That
We
is.
have that as an exhibit.
Okay, it is an exhibit. Is. Now, the guidelines state at page 1, all properties are reassessed usually utilizing a reference date. So in this case, we're dealing with April 1st, 2023, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And now I'm not clear if this is a misprint or a mistake or what. Maybe you can explain it to me. It says this means your assessment should reflect what your property would have reasonably sold for on the reference date in its current physical condition. Are you familiar with that?
Yep, that's correct.
Do you agree with that?
Yep, that's correct.
Now, what is meant by the reference date? Is that the April 1st, 2023?
Correct.
And in its current physical condition, what does that mean?
It means the current physical condition.
It doesn't mean the physical condition at the time of the set for the assessment, the April 1st, 2023?
No, current condition.
Doesn't mean that.
Correct.
So if that property were bombed or wiped out by the hurricanes like they recently experienced in Florida and southeastern United States, that would have to be taken into consideration, correct?
That's correct, which is something that I'm kind of already doing because I'm valuing the property at land.
So then that completely contradicts what you have said and what this guideline says is a footnote. Post-reference sales are not admissible as evidence. That contradicts that, doesn't it? If you sold it at that damaged condition, you'd certainly get less, right?
Not if we're valuing the property at land already.
Well, what if it was flooded? As a lot of those properties are.
This is all hypothetical. What is the point here?
Pardon?
This is all hypothetical. What's your point here?
Well, certainly your whole guidelines are hypothetical. I mean, you're not taking the value. You're saying you can adjust forward, but not backward. Now, that's entirely a hypothetical decision. And it's completely hypothetical. I mean.
Mr. Booth, I'm gonna
Yes.
stop you right here. You're here to listen about your property. That's what we are discussing. It's your property.
And I'm making a preliminary point that all of his comparables, which are all inferred in these guidelines, which we now have as an exhibit, refer to existing buildings. Let's look at page 2, Mr. Thiessen. In preventing sales comparisons, and you went on in great length with Mr. Two presenters before me about the location, proximity of services, size of lot, size and age of house, topography, view, number and size of bedrooms and bathrooms, basement finished or unfinished, fireplaces, garage, carport, outbuildings, significant repairs. We're heavy on that. Isn't that a part of what the guidelines suggest should be considered?
As this property is located
part.
as this property is located on the interior lots of Old Tuxedo, the value of the property really is in the land. So with that being the case, I have looked at land comparables to determine what the value.
Where does it say in the guidelines that you get to make that decision? That you can cast aside these criteria that you're suggesting and look at land values only?
Because we are looking at the market value for your property at a given date. And in this case, the value in the market for your property is in the land.
But isn't that hypothetical? You don't know that.
No, there's market evidence to suggest that because I have supplied that market evidence.
Give me some. Give me one example.
210 Lamont Boulevard, 232 Lamont Boulevard, 223 Grenfell Boulevard, and 105 Girton Boulevard.
Well, one of those, the one on Grenfell, is right across from the comedy club, I think, as you put it, and that attracted an extremely high value. So that contradicts your theory, doesn't it?
I mean, an extremely low value.
Well, if you think, let me see.
The value of the time adjusted sale price for that sale is 621,000 relative to the other three comparables, which are 861,700 to 1,109,900. And these are all properties that sold with a building on them that were demolished because they were in a condition that people were buying them for the lot, similar to your own property.
And they were all properties that were non-existent at the crucial time of April 1st, 2023. They didn't exist. So all of this in your guidelines is garbage about the condition and so on.
To determine what the market value was at that market date, we're using sales that occurred before that date to determine what that value would be. If the sale did occur prior to that date, we would be doing a time adjustment to bring it to that market date.
But you'd be doing it on an existing residence. That's what this whole thing is about. And there were no residences there. If you were truly making an adjustment, you would have to adjust as bare land.
I think you're misunderstanding.
Inform the taxpayer what you were doing.
I think you're misunderstanding the valuation methodology.
You only informed my colleague here today. And Grenfell, 223 Grenfell. This is 3,040 square feet with a 3-car garage across the front of it.
But at the time of its sale, it was not. It was an old building that was then demolished within 11 months.
Yes, and that's the part that you've been concealing. It wasn't presented to us until today and is not in accordance with your guidelines that we've marked as an exhibit. Where in those guidelines does it say that you're entitled to make a declaration on your own without any input from the taxpayer that we're going to regard this as demolished and land only sale? Where does it give you that authority?
So I have personally seen your house. I have been inside of it. I have seen it in the past.
But answer my question. Answer my question.
Let him speak, please.
Well, he's not answering.
No, he is trying to. Would you
How
let
do you
him
know
speak?
that? I infer that he's going off on a tangent.
He's not. If you could listen to him, please.
All right, okay. What about inspecting my house?
So I have personally seen your house in the past. I know what the overall condition is. I know that there were at the time some little bit of issues with water penetrating the basement even. Given that, it was in original condition at the time that I did see it. And given that we have sales suggesting that people are purchasing these lots in Old Tuxedo to demolish them and rebuild because they want the lot, they want the location, which is the prime driver in real estate is location because it can't be changed. That is what we're determining that the value for your property at this point is in the land. Because someone would likely see what is currently standing on the property.
Where is the authority for him to make that determination?
You were interrupted.
I know, because he's just skirted over my question.
He is not. Mr.
Well,
Eason, continue, please.
when, where, and how did you make that determination? Was it when you inspected it? If so, did you inform me? No.
Okay, you know, we're gonna move on. Do you have an actual question to Mr. Eason?
What property? I certainly do, and that's my question. When did you make that determination? And on what authority?
And
I have
believe-
reviewed sales, and that's how I made this determination. Other homes that were in
You were talking
other
about the condition on your inspection. What
other
about-
homes that were in similar condition to your own at the time of their sale were demolished within 11 months of their purchase, and then with rebuilds after the fact. So people were purchasing these properties for the land, getting demolition permits, demolishing what was there, and rebuilding.
Can you give me any examples of people doing that apart from your 4 comparables?
I have provided 4 very good comparables here that do exemplify
That's not the
exactly that.
question. Can you give me any other than those 4?
I did not prepare them coming into this because I
Pardon?
had good sales here already.
So that answer is no, you can't give me any others?
No, because I did not prepare them in advance.
Right? Now, it is the case that none of these properties existed in the spirit of the guidelines. There were no residences on them on April 1st, 2023. In fact, I cycle in the neighborhood and walk in it every day, and one of them isn't finished yet. So what do you say? Were there any houses there on April 1st, 2023, the crucial date?
It doesn't matter what was there at April 1st of 2023.
Were there, yes or no?
I don't know.
It
does not. What I'm telling you is it does not matter what was there at April 1st
you're
of
giving an
2023.
opinion on a different issue.
No,
Do you know whether there was any residences on the property on April 1st, 2023?
I do not know.
Full question, yes or no?
I do not know.
You don't know, okay. Well, my information is, from my inspection, is there were not. They were all demolished. So you're going on this 4-page guideline, which tells you to look at photographs of the property, appraisals and estimates, including, and I emphasize this, repair invoices for repairs for structural foundation issues, needing shingles, roofing repairs, window replacement, repainting, worn carpeting, all of these things are advising the taxpayer to assess, and that it is going to be assessed on the condition of that house. Isn't that correct?
The condition of your property at April or at today's date, but
No.
using market data.
As of April 1st, 2023, that's.
Condition of your property as of today, but the market value for the property as of April 1st of 2023 using market data prior to that date.
Well, tell me this. When, and I was prevented, but I'm gonna ask this question again. When did you make the determination, and by what authority, that you were going to value this as bare property and disregard all the information instructed in this guideline? When did you make that decision?
Again, I reviewed sales of improved properties that did get demolished after their sales.
When?
Because they were in a condition that was.
When? My question is when. I know what you did.
When you submitted your appeal for your application for appeal.
When you received.
When it was time for me to review.
When you received my appeal, that's when you reviewed, okay? And then when did you make your decision?
Prior to the hearing. I don't know what this questioning
Well,
is.
certainly it was prior to the hearing. When? How much prior to, was it a week, a month? How long before?
I truly don't know. I'm working on many properties all at once. I don't know when I exactly did your property.
And when did you notify me that you were going to make this decision based on land value alone?
I didn't, nor do I have to.
You didn't, but you're using comparables that rely on that. So that's why I'm asking that all your comparables, because of his evidence that he's admitted, and because of these representations and guidelines, all his comparables be stricken from the record. And by the same token, the authority for the,
Mr. Booth,
yes,
this is not a law court.
no,
You understand?
but if,
No, so we are not striking anything.
well, he
This
asked,
is Mr.
he-
This,
he-
no, excuse me, this is Mr. Thiesen's evidence that he has provided. All right, so I would ask from forward on that you please show some respect and stick to your evidence that you have provided.
no, I'm cross-examining.
No, that's not what we are doing here. As I
We're
said,
not?
this is not a court of law.
And this isn't a
Do you have
cross-examination?
any more questions in regards to Mr. Thiesen's evidence?
Yes,
Because Mr. Booth, at this time, I am giving you 5 more minutes. That is it, and then you will be cut off.
well, I'm asking in view of his admissions and in view of the wording of this guideline, which you've admitted as exhibits, that his comparables be stricken from the record. And that, I am telling you, is what he asked you with respect to a prior applicant here this morning. I heard it. Yeah, while it's asking,
Mr. Thiessen, your time is ticking.
Mr. Thiessen,
Sorry, Mr. Booth, your time is ticking.
didn't she ask you for something to be struck from the record?
I requested a post-reference sale just be struck because nobody can use those sales.
Post reference.
All right, well, I'm asking that the comparable which I submitted, and it's also a comparable which Mr.
Okay, I've already told you, we're
Young.
not striking Mr. Thiesen's comparables. That is his evidence.
All right, well then, I'm asking you in that same liberal vein, you're going to admit his evidence, to accept the post-reference sale that Mr. Young asked you to consider, and that I have submitted to your assessor of
We are not
your,
looking, no, Mr. Young's hearing is over.
you're refusing that.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I'm, forget Mr. Young. I am now asking, I submitted this to Mr. Thiessen, or whoever gets these, on October the 4th.
He did submit this as evidence, but it is not his point
Pardon?
for.
Didn't hear what you were saying?
He did submit this as evidence, but it is not
Ah.
his point for evidence reading. So I just wanted to touch on that.
So I did submit what as evidence?
The 233 Hansard Boulevard sale that you had mentioned.
Okay,
So
Yeah.
it is in there in your evidence, but you're still at questioning.
Yeah,
and 233 Hansard.
okay, that is part of your brief, which we are not hearing right now. Do you have
Okay.
any more questions?
No, those are my questions.
Okay,
from him.
thank you. Ms. Warehan, did you have any questions for the assessor?
No, Madam Chair, thank you.
And Mr. Gross?
I have no question, thank you.
I also have no questions. Mr. Booth, if you would like to proceed with your brief.
Yeah, okay. I won't repeat my request to disregard, very least, strike the assessor's comparables and to accept my comparables, and in particular, the most recent one, which we've been discussing, which was touched on by Mr. Young. This property is 5 houses from mine. It's on the same side of Hansard. It's in a little pocket. I've discussed this with one of your assessors, not Mr. Thiessen. a lady. There's a little pocket of 8 or 9 post-war, and that's World War II, bungalows built in the early 50s. They're all bungalows except one has now been demolished. I don't know when, probably in the early 90s. And it's a 2-story house, Dr. Barwinski, I forget the address. All the rest are the same. They 223 is in particular comparable as it was with Mr. Young's. And it is a house that was listed for sale in 2022. I don't know if it remained on the market, but it was certainly on the market. And I don't know all of the listing prices, but I believe the initial listing price was $699,900. As we've heard previously, that house sold May 2024, May 23rd, 24 for $627,500. And I don't understand this and don't agree with it. It has a side lane in that area of Old Tuxedo. The lanes are, I'll call them Z-shaped. They come in, one house, one property removed from the cross street. Then they make a right turn, go down the length, and then they make another turn and go out to the other street. So he's in a pocket at the end of these 9 houses that has siding frontage, not only on the street, and I believe the frontage of this house is 81 or 82 feet, but this side lane, which allows unlimited egress to a side driveway, crescent driveway, whatever you want. So I think that's an advantage. It's, as I said, 5 houses removed from mine. It's not subject to the traffic argument that my learned friend makes, because there's the lane, then there's a house on the corner with an 8-foot fence completely surrounding it, and then there's Cordon Avenue. So I don't think that the traffic is an issue whatsoever. So I'm asking you to accept this as a comparable, if not a very strong argument of what these properties, these little old bungalows in this pocket are worth. The traffic is not an issue. It's almost exactly like my house in that it has a semi-developed basement, several bathrooms. It has, as I said, the big advantage, side lane, side driveway, whatever you want to call it. It's slightly smaller frontage. Mine is 100. This is 81 or 82. It's slightly larger. I think it's 1,800 square foot. Mine is 1,700. It is as close as you could possibly come, except maybe Mr. Young's house, to my house, and why mine should not receive a value in accordance with that recent sale. And who knows, the prices are going to go up or down in this uncertain world. So I would strongly ask you to consider that, and failing that, to take the average of my 4 comparables, which I filed some time ago, and which is approximately 899, or here we are. It is $702,250. So that's my solution.
Thank you. Questions, Mr. Thiessen?
I do have just a few. Thank you very much. So for the comparables that you've provided, it looks like only 2 of them did actually occur before April 1st of 2023. Is that correct?
I don't know, the dates are on them, I can't remember them now, I can look them up, if you like.
They are all before only 2 of them are before April 1st of 2023.
Yeah, so you do a time adjustment, which you're refusing to do retroactively for reasons unknown. And I agree, yeah. It's, as Mr. Young said, it's a simple mathematical calculation, your formula.
So of those 2 sales, which are 137 Chataway and 236 Hansard,
Right,
137 Chataway sold in July of 2021 for 729,000. Were you aware that the time adjusted sale price on this is 776,400?
no, but if your math is accurate, accept that.
Okay,
How much, what did you say?
776,400.
Time adjusted. By the way, can you see any reason for not adjusting retroactively?
Legislation.
Never did answer that question when you did it.
So
Why
then
not?
moving on here,
You're refusing to answer that, okay.
it's my questioning. And this property at 137 Chataway, this property is located at the corner of Tuxedo and Chataway, correct?
I believe,
Okay. And this property also shares a back lane with a condo complex. Is that also correct?
don't know what's next door.
Yeah, behind the back lane, there is a condo complex.
So it's at Tuxedo and what?
Tuxedo and Chataway. This is the 137 Chataway comparable that you provided.
No, I don't know what's in proximity to it.
Okay.
Except, expect the community club, the tennis and hockey rinks, and that would be very close.
Okay. And then looking at the 236 Hansard, that one sold in June of 2021 for 676,100. Is that correct?
Sold for, yes, correct.
And were you aware that the time adjusted sale price for that sale is 709,200?
709,200. What is your formula for that time adjustment?
I don't have the exact formula. It is adjusting for the time between the sale date and the actual market date.
But what constant, what fractions do you use?
I don't personally do that. That is done by the modeling team. But it's done using paired sales. It is done using paired sales analysis.
I mean, do they take into consideration? I take it that they take the number of months and multiply that by some in times of inflation. I don't know if you ever do this in deflation. I'd be surprised if you do, but you take the number of months and multiply by that by some inflationary factor, right?
It is done using paired sales analysis, like I said. So just moving on here. That property at 236 Hansard, that is nearly 3,000 square feet smaller than your property as well. Is that correct? Or are you aware of that?
Let me see. No, that property is 1,531 square feet.
No, that's the building. I'm talking about the lot itself. The lot itself is 10,131 square feet.
The lot.
So yeah, that's 3,000 square feet smaller than your property.
What's
roughly.
Well, it's 77 by 132, and I think mine is 100 by 130. So do the math.
Yeah, so yours is 12,995 square feet, and theirs is 10,131 square feet. So it's roughly 3,000. It's not exactly 3,000, but it's roughly 3,000 square feet smaller. And this property is also located at the corner of Hansart and Corridon Avenue.
Yeah, and it's the one that's been completely redone with the insurance money as a result of the car driving into the living room.
Right. And the house that was present at the time of sale is still standing.
Right, it's what?
Is still standing. It hasn't been demolished.
Indeed, it is, as is mine,
Perfect.
and none of yours.
Exactly. And I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wareham, did you have any questions?
None, Madam Chair, thank you.
Mr. Chris?
Just one, what is the price that you are looking for?
Well, I would suggest somewhere between the 627,500 and the 702,000. That my comparables average.
Do you have a specific number though?
Well, 650,000.
Thank you. No.
That's based on the number of increases in the past, some as high as 35%. Which I know you don't take into consideration, but it's a fact of life.
And I have no questions. Mr. Thiessen, do you have any wish for a summation?
I'm okay. Thank you very much.
Mr. Booth?
Yes, just briefly, I still have not had the answer to when they make this decision to do a land only assessment, and why on earth that is not communicated to the taxpayer. It only seems to be reasonable and common fairness that they would give them that indication. For instance, you get some old decrepit person like myself who's not familiar with the exigencies of real estate and so on. And I might have no idea that there are all these developers and builders going around buying up these houses, tearing them down and reselling them. So it would be common sense that if I knew that, I would call up a couple of these builders, say, hey, these guys are gonna jack up my assessment by 35%. What about letting me have an estimate? No, they don't tell you any of that. They tell you 2 days before, 2 days before. And I would invite you to read that guideline very carefully. And despite your assurances or assertions that we're not in a court of law, we certainly should be guided by the principles of fairness and reasonableness and informing that are outlined in your own guideline of policies and procedures. And I would ask you to examine the authority for this assertion, which you're adopting, evidently, or at least Mr. Thiessen is, and rejecting all the other assertions in the submission. You adopt the post references are not admissible, but you reject the other suggestions on the condition, the examination, the renovations, reject all of those and allow them to make an arbitrary, uninformed decision that this will be based on land only. nothing could be more removed from assistance and fairness to our taxpayers who are paying your salary and the assessor's salary. It's just gone to complete bureaucratic control, which is not serving the interests of the people that it was designed to, namely the taxpayers and homeowners. Thank you. Thank you for your patience, and I apologize for the interruption. Your comments were considerate.
We'll take a 5-minute break. We'd like to call this hearing back to order. And we are going to proceed to item number 11, which is 550 Park Boulevard West. Mr. Thiessen, whenever you're ready.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. So the subject property is located at 550 Park Boulevard West, roll number 10003634500, and it is located in the Tuxedo neighborhood. Regarding this property, myself and Mr. Neufeld actually do have a recommendation agreed upon at $5,240,000. Have actually emailed this to the Board of Revision this morning. So we do have an agreement on a recommendation for this property.
Thank you. Sorry, did you read the roll number in?
Yes, I'll read it again just in case. 10003634500.
Thank you. And Mr. Neufeld, you are in agreement with this?
Yes, we are. And I just first of all, the assessor and I had a conversation. I haven't got approval yet for this from the owner, so he's aware of it. But we're doing this in good faith. One question: did you make up a brief on this at all?
I did, yeah.
Oh, okay. Because you wouldn't mind emailing it to me just for my own records, if that'd be okay. I don't care what value it is on there, just something so I have it. I guess the board should have sent it to me, but they didn't, or maybe the board could send it to me.
Yeah, it's because you didn't have the evidence submitted
Yeah.
by the deadline, so it's
Yeah. It was if someone could just send it to me. Other than that, yes, we're in agreement with it, and conditionally, it looks fine.
Mr. Thiessen, could you elaborate on this recommendation as to why?
So I reviewed comparables. He also reviewed some comparables, and we came to just the agreement that the $5,240,000 was likely a roughly fair estimate of the value at the time of April 1st of 2023.
So would you say that's based on market value?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Wareham, did you have any questions to the assessor?
I do not, Madam Chair, thank you.
And Mr. Krause?
No questions, thank you.
I also have no questions. And I believe we are going to adjourn items number 16 and number 17. And we are going to just take a very brief recess. Oh, thank you, Mr. Neufeld. I think he's left.
Yeah, no. Sorry, so Madam Chair, we're adjourning the last two items, right?
Yes.
So therefore, wouldn't we be done with docket?
No, we have item 7.
Oh, right. My apologies.
No.
Oh, good.
Bring the assessor on. Absolutely.
I believe you have the assessor back.
Okay, great. Just going to continue with the hearing with our last item, which is number 7, 356 Lindsay Street. And Mr. Thiesland, I would just like to confirm with you, did you hear anything from the applicant?
I did speak with the applicant a while back. I don't know the exact date, but upon our conversation, they kind of indicated that they were likely not going to continue with the appeal. I advised them how to withdraw, but I guess they just didn't. So.
Thank you. And the applicant is not here either in the room or via Zoom. So if you would like to read the property into the roll.
Yes, thank you. So the subject property is located at 356 Lindsay Street, roll number 120-978-04380. It's located in the North River Heights neighborhood. It's a one-story build, single-family dwelling built in 2013, 2262 square feet of living area, has a full basement that is finished, has 2 full baths, 2 half baths, 2 showers, has central air conditioning, 2 fireplaces, attached multi-car garage, and 7,500 square feet of lot. The comparables are in the Sir John Franklin or North River Heights neighborhoods. They're all one-story builds, lot sizes, between 4,749 square feet to 5,999 square feet. Characteristics are fairly similar, but there is some variability as shown on the comparable sheet. And the time adjusted sale prices range between 600 to 923 400. And the time adjusted sale prices per square foot range between 373.96 per square foot to 509.88 per square foot. There was also a subject sale in March of 2020 for 806,000. Time adjusted, that would be 979,000. So I believe that the current valuation at 883,000 or 390.36 per square foot is supported. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Warehan, did you have any questions to the assessor?
I do not. Thank you, Madam Chair.
No questions, thank you.
I also have no questions. And this concludes this hearing. We have heard all the items on the docket this morning, other than our last 2 that were adjourned. And Mr. Thiesland, I would like to thank you sincerely for your time and patience this morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We get to just